Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for Monday, April 17th, 2017. Hopefully you had a fantastic extended holiday weekend. Let's take a look here at the ES in the daily time frame here. We've seen that Friday here, given the fact that bombs are dropping and increased talk with North Korean war and everything, we've seen the markets kind of drop just a little bit here. But overall, the markets remain healthy. We've been within a very, very bullish uptrending structure. Typically speaking, after you see a major uptrending move, you see digestion of those prices, another uptrending move, more digestion. At the moment, we are pushing back. And the idea before that I mentioned was that we were trading neutral to this key range within these two inner key pivots here, and that's an energy building phase. And when we start to break, it could be an indication of major expansion to come or increased volatility. Doesn't have to be directional. What I'm looking for right now is how does price respond to the low price here of 23.1775 and also the previous close. Previous close and previous low right there. Whenever they're very close to each other, that's an indication that the next highest major pivots are going to be the midpoint and the high, or down here into expansion. So this is going to be very important. I think if price pushes down into this zone, it could be an opportunity to look to trap bulls or trap bears rather, and squeeze if you're a bull for a push back up toward 23.80, 23.90. So that's going to be an idea to look for. I think if this thing gets below 2300 and cannot get back above, that's when this may have more issues and more of a pullback. But right now, I think overall the trend remains up. We may remain within a digestion range. If we pull back into this zone here, that's an opportunity to look to trap and perhaps squeeze it back toward 53, 54. If there's any failure to hold 2300, that's when we're starting to look much more bearish. All right, let's take a look here at the intraday time frame. We'll drop this down. There we go. Right now we have mostly a trading range market, actually a perfectly trading range market where the highs here are 23.27, the lows are 23.2275, and it's a fade new highs, fade new lows type of session at the moment with the previous close right here. So at the moment, looking for signs that any rejection can occur up here. If there's any failure to hold this white line or above 27s here, that could lead to a quick move back across the ranges. This could be a fade the edges type of opportunity at the moment. Now a push and a hold above 28s rotates this back to 32s, and perhaps you see a little bit more of a bounce. But right now, given the downtrending market that we've seen, here's the pivot range for the day. Any bounce into this pivot range likely to be seen as a selling opportunity for bears looking for new lows. All right, let's take a look here at crude oil. There we go. Let's bring up the higher time frame pivots here. What you'll notice with crude, what we talked about here before was we have a very bullish uptrending market. Any bears that come in are going to be seen as counter trend right now, counter trend rotations. They had the upper hand. This is when they lost it big time. Well, they lost it over here big time as well. But this is really when a major continuation and a push back above 51.5 occurred. So you can see a couple of things here. Here's a midpoint and 3 days of holding there. That means that they can run the stops below that level if they want to here. But what I mentioned was if price gets below these lows and there's a rejection, even as low as this point here, that could be a buy opportunity for a continuation into recent highs in the 55s. So any pullback early this week could be an opportunity to trap and push to 54.5, 55 by the end of the week. So we'll be watching for that. But again, the key level here to watch is 52.70. We'll see how that level reacts as a pivot today. Looking at the intraday time frame right now, again, 52.70 is this level right here. So again, you can see price came below it, double bottom, back above, trying to hold that zone. The 68 level is also the 25% day expansion target on the PivotBoss pivot. So they're holding it. Nice little energy building up, but there could be movement given the fact that a lot of bears have gotten short down here, there could be a squeeze ahead back toward 53.15 and perhaps even higher. But again, even if we were to drop a little bit lower, I'm still watching for signs of 52.70 to be rejected. Anything below it rejected, that could be an opportunity to squeeze it back up toward 55s on a swing basis. This could take a little time to develop, so being patient on that idea. All right, let's take a look at, actually let's do NQ. Here's NQ. Looking at the NQ higher time frame here with the pivots, you'll see that the NQ has also rotated lower. Right here, that was a significant high. We talked about 54.40s as being the area where bears were going to absorb for a shot at pushing this thing back towards 61s, which we got, and then a shot at seeing this thing rotate as far as 53s. Once we get down here below 53 quarter, 53.25, 5300, it could be a big time area to look for a rotation back up. So right now this thing is on a path kind of downward, but this is an uptrending market. There were opportunities in here in the trigger zone for bulls to defend, and they just weren't able to really get any continuation to the upside. So right now still kind of seeing weakness. This is a lower value relationship this week, so any push into 53.90s, 53.80s could be a selling opportunity. 5400 is a big time pivot here. Any failure to get above 5400 this week could be a selling opportunity for 5300. And then any push down here, I'd be watching for a rejection back up. So right now the idea is we have a trading range that is built after the major upside move, and that implies two-sided trade, so you fade the edges. You fade new highs, fade new lows. So right now the idea is to look to sell rips for a shot at continuing lower for the most part. And if price were to come down here, look for rejections back up the ladder. So that's the idea on a swing basis. Now taking a look at the intraday time frame. Here we go. You'll notice very similar to the ES here, it had formed a nice little range, and right now we're at a new high within that range. If there's any failure to hold here, 53.60, that could be a rotation back to the lows. Otherwise, holding that pivot rotates a little bit higher. So that would be a bounce, right? And so you want to see a little bit more bounce here if this is going to sell on a swing basis. So we'll see how much more we get. Remember, as high as 5400 would still be a selling opportunity on the swing basis for a shot at 5300. So we'll see how this continues to play out here. But overall, any bounce right now could still be a selling opportunity within the current downtrending market, at least in the short term. Lastly, let's take a look here at ZB. Let's go higher time frame here in the pivots. There we go. ZB has been very, very bullish, and we've been talking about how strong it's been since price bounced off 146s, especially this day here, holding 147s, etc. The only time we finally got bearish was here, and then price pushed above the midpoint 2 days later. That negated that pattern immediately and implied a continuation. And so now we've gotten a continuation. Now what? Well, this thing still remains bullish. 153s is still a major pivot here. So even if we start the week with a little bit of weakness here, it could still be a strength for a continuation to new highs. Now here's one thing that's very important, is that 155s comes across about right there. That's the top end of this range. So it's do or die time right now. Bulls either need to be able to show that they can push through the LVN, start to mark this thing back up toward 160, maybe 163. There's clear air there, so that would be very fast. More than likely, after this big push, you may see a hold at these highs, perhaps even a little bit of a pullback. And then bulls will want to be able to defend and look to squeeze if this thing is going to continue. Otherwise, bears are going to be looking to trap up here. So the first idea right now is that we may have come a little bit far, and we could be looking to pull back. So if we pull back early in the week, which is already being shown by the previous week's high being rejected right here, that could imply at least a move back toward 153, which is here. That's about where some stops came out. Maybe even into the midpoint which is a little bit lower right about here. So right now, early in the week could be focused downward. Midpoint of the week could be about returning price back up. And then that could be pretty much it for the week. So we'll see how this plays out. But early on, looking for a pullback followed by perhaps a counter wave up. Now on an intraday basis right now, you can see again the previous week's high right here. Price attempted to hold above it and just recently peaked at 154.15 and is dropping back below the previous week's high. 154.10 is the previous week's high. So any bounce into value, into VWAP, into this previous high could be a short-term selling opportunity for a push back toward 153.20s. And that could be the pattern as we continue downward toward 153.11 today. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the new week of trading. Good luck and trade well.